After an exciting NFL preseason debut, New Orleans Saints rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler misses practice, but don't worry, doesn't sound like it's anything to be concerned about. We got all that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on today's episode of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as the Saints beat writer for the upcoming LouisianaSports.net release date soon to come. You can also see me on WWL TV as their Saints analyst. On today's episode of Locked On Saints, we're going to do a quick one here today, getting you caught up with everything you need to know from Saints training camp day 14. We'll take a look at how the team is finally getting healthier. A little bit of a standout practice again from Jake Haener, the New Orleans Saints second-year quarterback. The 49ers canceling joint practices. What could that mean for New Orleans? And we're going to kick everything off with why you shouldn't worry about Spencer Rattler missing practice on Sunday. Don't worry. Everything seems to be fine. We appreciate you very much, as always, for making us your first listen and for being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by friends over at LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs was to help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free today at linkedin.com/LockedInNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedInNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So New Orleans Saints rookie quarterback Spencer Rattler had a spectacular debut, right? Leading the touchdown drive in his first possession by running that touchdown in on a 4-yard touchdown rush, completed a beautiful pass on the back shoulder to Samson Nacua, wide receiver, during what turned out to be a game-winning drive, thanks to rookie kicker, fellow rookie, Charlie Smith, who drilled a 37-yard field goal to lift the New Orleans Saints to a 16-14 victory over the Arizona Cardinals. But some of the excitement hit a little bit of a wall on Sunday when media got out to practice and there was no 18. Oh no. But don't worry. It seems that everything's fine. Spoke to Dennis Allen after practice. He said that it's a thigh contusion, which is effectively a bad bruise. And then according to Nick Underhill over at NewOrleans.football, the expectation seems to be that he'll be back at practice on Tuesday. That's after the day off on Monday. So a really easy kind of 2-for-1 opportunity here. We talk about this all the time when it comes to injuries during training camp, especially when there's going to be a day where you can miss practice and then get a second day off because the team is off. It's the right thing to do. It's the easiest way to do it. Spencer Rattler is proven to be, just like Jake Haener, a fantastic competitor. So I don't expect he's going to want to miss more than one practice. In fact, as I understand it, he wanted to practice on Sunday, but wasn't able to get out there on the field. And the Saints being rightfully cautious around all of it. Don't go out there. And like the the thigh contusion thing probably isn't going to be a type of injury that's going to get worse, quote unquote, but it could, like, if you're laboring a little bit because of it, you could end up tweaking something else. If you're trying to be like lighter on one leg or something like that and then putting too much pressure on another, it could cause a little bit of an issue. I get it. I 100% get it. So no issues. With Spencer Rattler out, Jake Haener and Derek Carr split all of the snaps when it came to 7-on-7s, and then they did some team drills starting back at the 30. They went up and did some red zone team drills as well. Then they ran some more end-of-game simulations, 1:40 left on the clock, having to drive 65 yards to get into the end zone, down a touchdown. I'll update you on Jake Haener's big day here in a little bit. But what I want to focus on next is because we talked about Spencer Rattler, who was one of the stars of the preseason game. I want to tell you about another star of the preseason game who followed things up with a very strong practice again on Sunday, and that was wide receiver A.T. Perry. Now, don't forget, wide receiver A.T. Perry was effectively called out by head coach Dennis Allen, who said at an early point in Saints training camp that the wide receiver was performing fine. And then went on to say that fine's typically not good enough in any profession. So what we've seen from A.T. Perry was a strong practice last Wednesday, followed up by a little bit of a shaky practice on Thursday. The Saints traveled to Arizona on Friday, and then Saturday night, a fantastic game. 58 yards downfield, a nice catch over the middle in the red zone, all these other pieces. Dennis Allen also highlighting that he loves seeing the willingness from A.T. Perry to block as well, which ended up making a difference for the team. I'll have to go back and look at that from my film study. For you insiders that are a part of that, I'll tell you how to become an insider here in a little bit because we've been doing some film studies all throughout the day on Sunday. And then we're also taking a look at him going back into practice on Saturday, and he followed up, on Sunday, and he followed up that Saturday performance with a fantastic Sunday practice. Ended up going up and over on a couple of opportunities for big catches. Ended up having a great catch over the middle of the field as well, a little bit of catch and run opportunity. I thought he had a really, really strong day of camp again. So maybe if I can borrow from my good friend John Sigler, who quote tweeted a tweet from me that was kind of updating on A.T. Perry's day. He said maybe he got his mojo back. And maybe that's the case. Maybe he did indeed get his mojo back. We've seen A.T. Perry be this guy that was performed super strong in games, but hasn't been like the practice standout, right? It's been the practices where he struggled, drop passes, concentration issues, not issues, but like concentration drops, like those are both kind of linked to one another. Slipping and falling while running routes, things like that, like not being able to keep his footing. Then all of a sudden he gets to these games and he's an absolute beast on the field up out of nowhere. And I think people forget sometimes, and I highlighted this in the live episode last night, kind of, or Saturday night, kind of recapping the game. People forget, not only is he 6'2", 6'3", 200 plus pounds, but he ran a 4.47 in the combine as well. So he's also got good speed. And we saw all that on Saturday, saw it again on Sunday. So really, really nice stuff. And keep in mind too, this is a day on Sunday where he came back and, was working with guys like Chris Olave and Cedric Wilson and Kevin Austin, all that. So really, really nice stuff from the young wide receiver that's still trying to make sure that people know, hey, I'm here, right? And I'm ready to make plays and all that good stuff. So really, really good stuff from A.T. Perry. Very much looking forward to seeing him throughout the rest of the week. It's unfortunate that he won't get the opportunity to perform against the 49ers during joint practices, however. And in fact, the 49ers backing out of joint practices could have a major impact on how the New Orleans Saints view and pursue the remainder of their preseason. Let's get to that next as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs is doing everything that they can to make things easy, convenient, and fast for small businesses that are looking to hire. You know that the process of hiring and interviewing and all that is already stressful. So let LinkedIn take a little bit of the labor off of it for you. They've got great tools that help you write job descriptions. They'll post your job to make sure that it's accessible to their enormous network of people. 2.5 million small businesses are already using LinkedIn. Your small business should be on there as well because 86% of those small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours of posting their job. It just doesn't get any better than that. And the folks that use LinkedIn heavily don't visit other job boards as well, or at least the majority don't. So you know that LinkedIn is the place to be. So head over to linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free today. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is the same formula that will keep your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors is everything that you need to be able to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, LED headlights, exhaust kits, whatever it is that you're looking for, eBay Motors has you covered. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, check out ebaymotors.com because they have over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. And so you'll always find exactly what it is that you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, you also get a guarantee because they're making sure that your part fits every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All the parts that you need at the prices that you want. Visit eBay Motors today to make sure you're leveling your car up to MVP and bringing home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive today at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply and eBay guaranteed fit available only to U.S. customers. Let's Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. The New Orleans Saints will no longer have joint practices against the San Francisco 49ers, and there's a little bit of a ripple effect that could be had here, specifically when it comes to their approach to the preseason from a starter perspective and their approach to the preseason when it comes to showing more of their scheme. Let's break it down here as we wrap up this quick episode, right? A little bit of an abbreviated episode today. Just make sure you get all the information you need from practice. It was a bit of a lighter day today anyway. Still some good energy, though, when it came to those end of game drives, which we're going to get to that here in a little bit, too, as we discuss Jake Haener's day. Real quick, I don't usually bug you with like behind the scenes kind of programming stuff, but just real quick, typically I go live after practices. I did not do that tonight. The reason being, I forgot some of my equipment when I went to UC Irvine, and so I came back to the Airbnb. The internet here is kind of spotty. I didn't want to put out something that was bad quality, so I decided to record and post just to make sure, because you deserve better and you deserve the best. I didn't want to go live and then have like the internet drop out or something stupid like that. And so that's why I'm doing this. We'll be back to live shows Tuesday afternoon. And of course, you'll get a fresh episode tomorrow morning, probably a little bit later than usual, just so I can enjoy a little bit of the morning off. But just so to give you an update, still your team every day. Still got a new episode for you every day here throughout the week. All right. Sorry, just wanted to get that out of the way. Hope you don't mind. So the San Francisco 49ers have pulled out of joint practices with the New Orleans Saints. Contrary to popular belief, this is not an issue to where the 49ers are like chickening out or like don't want to, practice against the Saints or whatever it is. This is a situation to where the team simply does not have the numbers to be able to participate in a joint practice like what you're going to have here. You're typically rotating a lot of guys and stuff like that. But just 3 days ago, Nick Wagner of ESPN, who covers the 49ers, sent out a tweet that talked about the did not practices for the day. Included wide receiver Deebo Samuel, cornerback Diamondre Lenore, cornerback Mooney Ward, cornerback Isaac Yiadom, former New Orleans Saint, of course. Wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, of course. Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver Chris Conley, running back Elijah Mitchell, running back Christian McCaffrey, and more and more and more. Linebacker Fred Warner, offensive lineman John Feliciano. It's a never-ending list. So if you were concerned about the amount of injuries the New Orleans Saints have had during training camp, things are not going great for the San Francisco 49ers on that front either. And that has sort of been the case for them. It's kind of been the story for them in the preseason these last few years, that when they stay healthy during the preseason, they show up in Super Bowls. When they can't stay healthy in the preseason, they don't. So we'll see where things go for the San Francisco 49ers when it comes to that. But where they're not going is Irvine, California, to practice up against the New Orleans Saints. So the bottom line is that the injuries are the reason why. But now, how does this impact the New Orleans Saints? Well, there's two ways in particular that I think that this could end up having an impact on how they approach the remainder of their preseason. Number one, you no longer now get an opportunity to get your starters in a controlled environment where you have a little bit less risk of the quarterback getting injured. Everybody's wearing non-contact jerseys at quarterback, all these other things. So you no longer now have that controlled environment to get your quarterback and your starters going up against an unfamiliar opponent. So now, do you have to, or feel the need to, either in this preseason game or next week's preseason game against the Tennessee Titans, do you feel the need as an organization or as a coaching staff to say, you know what, we should get the starters out there, give them one more drive, an opportunity to go up there and go up against an unfamiliar opponent when you got 9 offensive plays out of them, basically, with the exception of like Trevor Penning and Taliesin Fuanga and some of the others that played a little bit longer, but you didn't get many plays for your whole starting unit. So now that you don't get that on the 2 days of joint practices where you would get a lot of reps for those guys up against an unfamiliar opponent, do you play your starters more as the preseason rolls along? So that's one thing. The second thing is, you no longer get to test your new offensive scheme against an unfamiliar opponent before the regular season begins. Because during those joint practices, you were going to see a little bit more of what the New Orleans Saints are trying to do with Clint Kubiak at the helm, their new offense, all those other things. I was talking with John Hendricks over at Second and Saints, and I was saying that like my favorite ice cream flavor is mint chocolate chip, all right? So mint chocolate chip's my favorite. I would throw probably in there like some kind of like caramel cashew swirl thing too. Like I'm a sucker for the sweet stuff. So when we talk about the New Orleans Saints going out there with a vanilla offense in the preseason, that was not a vanilla offense in comparison to what we're typically seeing of the mint chocolate chip offense. That was a milk flavored offense. That's not an insult for what the New Orleans Saints were doing. That's just how much they hid from the national landscape of that preseason game. Vastly reduced. Now, does that mean that they're a better football team when they go out there and run the mint chocolate chip offense? I don't know. We'll find out when toe meets leather, when the Saints and the Carolina Panthers kick off at the beginning of the season. But they had a chance, and we're going to be given a chance to run some of that scheme up against the San Francisco 49ers for 2 days in joint practices. Now you don't get to do that. So do you show more of your offensive scheme against the 49ers in the preseason game on Sunday or next weekend going up against the Tennessee Titans? We will see. All right, I want to give you a couple of little updates here real quick. The New Orleans Saints getting a little bit healthier. Got to see some players return to today's practice. We saw all 3 wide receivers that were out for a little while, or 3 of the 4 wide receivers that have been out for a little while. Equanimous St. Brown, Bub Means, and Rashid Shaheed all back and participating in like individual drills and stuff like that. Not participating in team drills just yet. We'll see how that changes here throughout the week, but good news to see those guys there. Kendre Miller off to the side, working out, doing things with guys like Demario Davis and Juwan Johnson. The team also brought back a familiar face that I think fans are going to be excited about. They ended up moving on from Marquez Callaway, which isn't a big surprise, but moved on from Marquez Callaway and brought back wide receiver Shaq Davis, the former South Carolina State standout that was a big kind of fan favorite last offseason. They weren't able to get him back on a reserve future deal. He wanted to hit the market, ended up signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. That relationship ended, and now he's back here in New Orleans. The Saints bringing back Shaq Davis. Really nice stuff there. Couple of additional absences today. Safety, Millard Bradford. We also saw cornerback, Mac McCain. Linebackers, Isaiah Stallbird and Khaleke Hudson. Sounds like all those are just pretty much bumps and bruises, as Dennis Allen called them. But Isaiah Stallbird dealing with an ankle injury, so that one might be the one that ends up having a little bit of an impact. So we saw Ugo Amadi observing. We saw Paulson Adebo observing. So lots of signals towards getting healthier for this team. All right, finally, I want to wrap up really quickly, just highlighting another strong practice for Jake Haener. He had 1 minute and 40 seconds to lead the team downfield, 65 yards for a touchdown. He did it, eventually punching the team into the end zone on a QB sneak, and then ended up running in for a 2-point conversion as well on a scramble to the left side. Another strong day for him, connecting with guys like Jacob Cabote on a really nice play in red zone drills. The Saints, again, focusing on situational stuff, red zone drills, end of game simulations, all that. It was 7-14, minute 40 left on the clock, 65 yards to go. Can you get into the end zone? And Jake Haener did. Derek Carr did not. That ended with 2 sacks by Chase Young, which just seems to be the story every time that the Saints do this with their first team offense and first team defense. Those end of game situations are they're either won by the offense or demolished by Chase Young. That seems to be the rhythm so far, but nothing of concern and all that. I just wanted to highlight that Jake Haener, again, even with the surgery on his face and playing with stitches in his face and all this other stuff, had a really solid preseason showing, and followed it up with another solid practice, much like A.T. Perry. All right. Tomorrow morning, film study notes. If you want actual film study videos of me breaking down film, join the Insider program. Text Who Dat to 504-285-7473 or click the link in the description. Join subtext.com/LockedOnSaints. Free for 14 days, $5 a month after that if you want to stick around. Film studies, Q&As, exclusive videos, exclusive interviews, all that stuff, all on there. And of course, one-on-one conversation with me as well, if you want it. All right, y'all, we appreciate you very much. As always, making Locked On Saints your first listen of the day, every day, and for making us a part of your day, part of your routine, for saying yes to me on the show. As always, if you see me, please say hi. And if you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you living. Let me know how you momming them. And trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.